All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks y'all for your flexibility. I was supposed to be there on Tuesday and I had an emergency coming up. So I'm recording my PowerPoint instead so y'all have access to it and can look through it. So hi, everyone. My name's Alexis Gomez. Oop. And sharing my screen and making sure I'm presenting. And I'll have my captions on. Hi, everyone. So my name is Alexis Gomez. My pronouns are she, her, Aya, and I work in the Career Center as a career education coordinator. And today we are talking about networking, a little bit about job search, transferable skills, and cover letters. So I really wanted to start off by talking about the different types of job search approaches. Sometimes for those of us who are kind of like, I've never done a job search process before. I am also first generation college student, or was a college student, but a college graduate. So I remember being like, I have no idea how to do a job search process, and I couldn't get really support from my family besides like, you can do it, Mija. But so I wanted to go briefly over the different job search types, processes, and approaches. So first is a general online job listing. So there's Handshake, there's Google, there's Indeed. There are a bunch of like job board listings where people will post a job and then you can apply for it then and there. That's what I see typically most people do when they talk to me and in the Career Center is submitting their resume and cover letter through this online job listing. There's also specific job boards for each field. So if you are like an engineering student, there are job boards just for engineering. So you don't have to go through the marketing job posts or, the social work job posts. It would just be just solely for your field. And then the second approach or different type of approach you can do is also doing some target and research specific companies. So you know that you want to work in higher education, you want to work at a university or community college, and you want to stay in a particular area. Well, there limits your options, right? So I wanted to stay in Fort Collins. I wanted to work for CSU. And so I did all of my job searching at CSU and did all of my target research at CSU. The target specific companies and organizations are going to have, I will talk about this later, but have a little bit better chance of you to move forward in your application process. Sometimes when you just send out your resume through these general online job listings, you're going to have a little bit harder time getting in your interviews. So the main thing that I really wanted to talk about is networking. And those of you who attended the job negotiation workshop, I'm going to pretty much go over the same slides here at the beginning, just talking through networking and the importance of networking. The ways that you can do networking, and I want us to kind of think about the way that we think about networking, but essentially I want you to think about networking as just connections, how many connections that you have. So connecting people within the field that you're interested in. We'll talk a little bit about informational interviewing, career fairs and employee events, and then professional associations or conferences. So those are the different types of ways that you can network. Briefly wanted to go over just some resources. So as you can see my screen here. So if you go to the Career Center and you go under Resources and Resource Center, under topics, you can there's a variety of topics. Maybe you're interested in grad school, maybe you want more information about interviewing or job search, resume, cover letter, etc. You can click here and then a bunch of resources will pop up here on the right. So let's say you're wanting to look at job boards. So these are all the different job boards. And then you can type in your career and interest. So maybe you want to work in agriculture, animal. Here are all the listservs for farming and ranching, green job board, National Park Association, different associations, etc. So that's something that I want you all to get familiar with as well. Another thing is this resource called What Can I Do with This Major? And you can only access this link through the CSU website. So you type in the word what on our search engine and you see this, what can I do with this major? Some of you maybe already know what you want to do, and not your major doesn't always correlate with your career, but there is a general, like, I'm gonna have a general interest in this field or this area. What can I do within that area? So you want to click on all majors. These are not all the majors within CSU. They're just generally broad majors. And this company is like through a third party. So yeah, so you click on the major that you have, or maybe just to click on a field that you're interested in. So I'm going to click on child and family studies. And then it tells you the different areas that you can go in child and family studies. Maybe some obvious ones as a preschool or daycare, education, social work services, advocacy. And then it tells you the different like sectors you can go in and the different employers, and then some strategies to get there. Sometimes they're pretty general, like you need a master's degree for this, or you need a credential in this, or you should volunteer in these certain places. I think this is just a general, like, awesome website that I think everyone should know. But this is particularly helpful because when you are doing your job search, I like to use this as a tool to do my research. So maybe your child and family services, or maybe you're in social work, you want to do something with advocacy. Oh, one of the ways that you can do advocacy work is through housing. So I would type in I would go to Handshake or Indeed or any of these sites. Then I would type in housing or the word advocacy. And then click on full-time or part-time, depending on where you're looking for housing. But so here are all the different ways that jobs within housing. So I like to use this tool again as a way to highlight, copy and paste some of these search word engines when you go and look into job boards. Another thing about this website, if you go all the way down, on the right-hand side, there'll be employment opportunities. So these will be job boards specifically for that field that you click on, and then some other related resources here. And then on the left-hand side will be professional associations. If you're not affiliated with professional associations, how I kind of describe it is kind of like a fraternity or sorority, right? It's a type of membership group of people who have something in common, and is a way to get connected and learn about each other's field, etc. So typically some of these associations are like to get young people involved. So sometimes they do have internship opportunities, and you just have to like click more about us or education. There's webinars, educational experiences, emerging leaders, graduate students. So this is another way, again, going back to that networking part, this is another way where you can get connected. So I know we're talking about networking and transferable skills. I hope it's all connected, but I really wanted to show you all those resources because I think they're really important. Okay, back to my slide. And I'm just making sure the captions are on. Great. Okay, so a little bit about networking. I mentioned potentially professional associations. I know I went through that resource pretty quickly. If you ever want to set up an appointment with me, I'll have my contact information at the end. So we can talk more about how to network or get more involved. But networking, I want us to think of networking as a personal or professional connection. So think about, it doesn't have to be like, sometimes I think of networking as like, I'm going to an event, I'm wearing a suit, I'm shaking someone's hand, and it doesn't have to always be that way. But essentially networking is a connection, particularly someone who works in your field or a company that you're interested in. And they could potentially be a reference for you in the future. That's kind of more like the professional specific networking ways, but you could also think of it as just like, I know someone in my class and we're in the same field and major, and we want each other to succeed. So that's also going to be a way for you to think about networking. I have these stats here. So essentially what we talked about, those like cold applications, I submitted my resume on these on Indeed or in Handshake, and I haven't gotten a call back. There's some stats to that. So there's a 1 in 16 chance that you'll get an interview by just submitting your resume and cover letter. I kind of think about it like in a void. And then there's this other statistic about 40% of jobs are filled without a trace of a job ad. The state of Colorado has like added laws. So things like this wouldn't happen, right? You need to post something, even if it's just for 3 days. But I don't want this to like discourage you, just something to think about. Like I want you to talk about if you all are graduating soon, or maybe you're not graduating, just letting people know that you're graduating or that you're interested in these certain topics or these certain issues. People will think about you when a job comes up. And so I want y'all to keep that in mind. People like to hire within because they can trust and know your work ethic, etc. Or if you know someone who knows someone within the field, they could always vouch for you and provide a reference of like, oh my gosh, yes, Alexis has worked with me before. They're really amazing. And so I also want us to really focus on this networking piece because this is probably the most important part of your job application and search process. So I want us to take a minute. I want you all to make a list, particularly those who are graduating this semester, this year. I want you to make a list of people you know, professors, professionals, peers, and family members. If you have family members in the same field, like I mentioned earlier, my family members, I went into higher education. My family did not understand what I'm doing, doesn't know anyone in higher education. So that wasn't really an option for me, but I had other options as well as my peers, other like supervisors and professors as well. So tell your connections, tell your people that you're looking for a job. It doesn't have to be a super formal thing. You're not asking them for a job, but it could just be a simple conversation, like someone asking you like, oh, when are you graduating? You've been here for a while, or I know you had a capstone. Does that mean you're graduating? And then you can say, yeah, I'm graduating in December. I'm looking for a civil engineering position in Colorado. If you know of any places or opportunities in the area, like let me know, right? It could just be as simple as that. You're not asking for a job. It's not like a formal event. You were literally just telling people, I want to be in Colorado. I want to be close to my family. I'm looking for a job in civil engineering. Another form of networking is informational interviewing. So essentially, it's like an informal conversation you have with someone who's in the field that you're interested in. It's not a job interview. You're not asking for a job, but you're like, I don't know if this is the field I want to go into, or I've heard about this organization and I want to know more about it. You reach out to people and you ask them, tell me a little bit about like what you do on a day-to-day. Do you like the company you work for? How did you get to where you are today? It might feel a little bit awkward, like reaching out to people you don't know, but most people do like to talk a little bit about themselves and like to provide some type of like mentorship to folks. So informational interviewing is a way to do that, especially for those of you who are like, maybe I know the general field I want to go into, like I want to be in the medical field, but I don't know which direction in the medical field I want to go into. If you talk to different people from different places in the medical field, it might be able to help you kind of brainstorm and kind of narrow down those ideas. So you can do this through LinkedIn. So let me go through LinkedIn with you. People always ask me like, is LinkedIn important? Should I have it? LinkedIn is the thing that people tell you to have, but I wouldn't say it's like crucial, but it is sometimes a helpful tool. And this is a way that it could be helpful. So if you go to Colorado State University's LinkedIn, it will have a list of all of the alumni who also have a LinkedIn. So let's see, finance. Let's say you're a finance major. And you want to know where people are working in finance. It kind of gives you the top people, where they're working. Most people are working in the Denver area, a lot of people in Fort Collins, San Francisco, Colorado Springs, and then the different companies they're working for. It's also helpful to be like, okay, a lot of CSU alum are working here. Maybe this is an area or a place I can work too. Or maybe I've never heard of Northwestern Mutual. Let me look more into that. And then here are other folks who are currently finance major or alumni, and you can potentially reach out to them. So that's a way that you can, if you're like, I don't know anyone, I know I want to talk to someone in finance, corporate finance, but I don't know where to look to, you can look in alumni page through LinkedIn. You can message them through here, but you can also find their email, since a lot of people say they have LinkedIn, but maybe don't use it. It might be more helpful to send an email rather than a direct message on LinkedIn. And another disclaimer, LinkedIn tells folks whether you clicked on their profile or not. So if you care about that, make sure to change your settings. So that is LinkedIn. So again, informational interviewing, if this is something that interests you, I definitely highly encourage you to do this, not just like in school, but you can do this throughout your whole life, especially if you're like switching careers. This could be really helpful. But when you ask for an informational interviewing, you ask for only 15 to 30 minutes of their time, right? Make sure to be respectful of their time. Just simply ask for information, never a job outright. Ask about their career path and their current role. What did they like? How did they get there? And make sure to be genuine. And then I like to ask this question, like, is there anyone else you recommend to be in contact with? Because you'll talk to them, you'll talk about like your interests, what you're interested in, and they might spark something like, oh, maybe you should really talk to so-and-so in this organization. I think you would get along with them. Now you're just expanding and you're just expanding your network. And then always send a thank you. So here's kind of a template. Sorry, my title's a little off, but here's like a template. Hello, hello, Alexis. My name is, I can't think of another name, Alexis, and I'm currently majoring in this. I'm from CSU. I'm reaching out because I would love to learn more about this. Is there a time where we can meet virtually, particularly because like we're in like COVID times, a lot of people are more flexible to having that Zoom meeting versus like you driving somewhere and meeting someone there. So you can always look at that template. So some simple tips and tricks. Tell people you are job searching. That's probably the most important thing. Tell people you're job searching. People won't know if they don't know, right? Save job description. So copy and paste, do not bookmark. So sometimes you can like save jobs or save the links or bookmark them on your, on what's it called? On your tabs. But those go away after the job expires. So if you're applying for multiple jobs and then you finally hear back and you're like, oh shit, like what job did I apply to? It's just helpful because it's also will help you prepare for your interviews. So remember to copy and paste them into a Word document and then save them on your computer or on Google Drive or wherever you like to save your information. So remember to save your job descriptions, not just bookmark them, but copy and paste them because they will go away after the deadline. Some other things, maybe Google yourself if that's something they're interested in. Most people do Google you, even if they're not required to, or maybe they're just genuinely curious. Like I think I'm always curious who's applying, but that's something to think about if you care about that. Job searching can be a lot, particularly those of you who are graduating soon. And so making sure to like give yourself breaks and pace yourself, because by you tailoring your resume, creating a new cover letter, doing the research, it does take time. So I want you to take care of yourself throughout the process. And then making sure to not accept a job offer on the spot, ask for time to consider and negotiate when appropriate. I have a whole like worksheet about negotiation, what to say, how to say it, what if they ask you before, all of that stuff. And so I can send that out to Stephanie to see, so you can have access to that as well. I can give a whole hour presentation on just networking or on just negotiation. Okay, so the other part I wanted to go into was transferable skills. So, am I on the right pace? Okay, transferable skills. So I get a lot of students being like, I have a lot of work experience or a lot of relevant work experience. And like I'm afraid to do my job search. I want everyone to like take like a nice inhale, exhale. This is okay. What most employers are looking for are relevant or not relevant, but transferable skills, which are skills that you possess that are useful across variety of industries and jobs that you have. So on the right hand side here is like things that employers are looking for: people who are able to problem solve skills, ability to work in a team, communicate written and verbally well, show some type of leadership skills, work ethic, show initiation, attention to detail, etc. These are things that you do across projects, across working, interacting with others. And so I want you to emphasize on these things. Just because maybe you're applying for a job that's like maybe a research heavy job and you don't have experience researching, but hey, you worked at a Qdoba. I'm mentioning that because that was my first job. And I did like a lot of like inventory, like information, like entering, right? Those are skills. I'm going to do that in a research lab. Like I'm going to enter in data. I'm enter data at Qdoba. I can enter data at a research lab, right? They're very different industries, but the skill sets are still the same. One thing I like to mention in a resume, people like to put like a skill section. A lot of employers tell us we don't care about a skill section. So meaning you write down that you're a good problem solver, you're a good you have good organization, you're, proficient in Microsoft, right? Or Excel, right? And yeah, the truth is they don't care about that section. So I know I talked about transferable skills. I want you to demonstrate that I want you to talk about that you have these things, but I don't want you to flat out just say that on your resume. And the reason for that is it doesn't actually explain that the skills that you have, and it doesn't prove that you have those skills. You just wrote it down. So an example of how to add some of those skills on your resume is through your cover letter, right? Through your cover letter and your resume through this bullet point formula. So a lot of people live here, this action verb: I supervised, I facilitated, I created, etc. And then the skill set that they did. But people tend not to add this result or accomplishment or purpose. And this is where, particularly if you're applying for jobs maybe that aren't relevant, but you do have those transferable skills, this is where this formula is going to really come in handy for you to demonstrate that you have those skills. So for example, this student worked in the resident dining hall. They check students in. You had your card, you scan them in. And this is what they wrote: assisted all students who come into the dining hall by checking in over 100 students every hour, developing skills to succeed in a fast-paced working environment. So this bullet point tells me that, well, they give qualifiers. So they told me that they check in about 100 students per hour. That's a lot. And then that their purpose or accomplishment or their result is that they develop skills to succeed in a fast-paced working environment. This tells me that they're applying for a job that asks them to work in a fast-paced working environment. So for you, for the jobs that you've had or the projects that you've worked on, you write down your action, your skill set, but then tell me about the accomplishment, the purpose, the skill set, the result that you have that's going to transfer from the job description. So for example, this person is applying for a job and they want them to have good, strong communication skills. So this person wrote, they trained new employees, they trained them particularly about equipment, but they ended it by saying, I use my strong communication skills. I have good communication skills, and that's how I was able to train employees. So again, using those transferable skills and those transferable skills and adding them kind of like at the end of those bullet points to show and to demonstrate that you got this, you can do it. And then the last bullet point is a little wordy, but essentially they're saying that they provided really good customer service and they were recognized for that. And so if you were like promoted or had added responsibilities, this is how you could word that as well. So again, even if you are applying for a job that you might not see as relevant, use those transferable skills and write them down in your qualification section on your resume and in your in your bullet points throughout your resume. So this is the action verb: assist, train, provide. Side note, it's helpful for you to use different verbs. Sometimes I hear people say assist, 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 assist. You did more than just assisting, you also did things as well. So making sure to add different verbs. The skill set: checked in people, trained on equipment, answered phones, and then develop skills to succeed in a fast-paced working environment, strong communication skills, and then recognized by my supervisor. So we'll dive into cover letters next. So what is the purpose of a cover letter? Briefly wanted to explain this. So it explains your experiences in a story-like format that works with the information provided on your resume. So you are not repeating your resume. You are like hyper-focusing on specific skills or experiences that the job is asking you to have, and then explaining how you did those things to show the employer that you can do this job that you're applying for. So allow for you to go more in depth on important experiences that are relevant to the job requirements, and show the employer that you're tailoring the job application. It's really easy to just submit your resume to all these different places, but you can't really do that with a cover letter. You really have to type in the job title, why you are interested in it, and the skill sets, etc. And this also shows a sample of your communication skills. So the formatting of your cover letter should be opening, middle, close. Same like any, like most essays. Most essays, you have an introduction, you have a middle, and you have a close. In your opening paragraph, these are the things that you want to add. So you want to have some type of attention-grabbing statement. You have to list the position you are applying for and the organization, why you're interested in the position, and then a brief summary of your qualifications, achievements, strengths that matches the job description and responsibilities. So let me repeat that again. The last couple sentences should summarize your qualifications and strengths and achievements that matches the job description. So this opening sentence, just like any other sentence, by the way, this is what I'm going to talk about. These are the things that I'm good at and how I'm going to meet the job requirements. So I'm going to give you an example. So here's a job that I've applied for a couple of years ago. It gives a brief description of the position and then some preferred qualifications. So some of the things to highlight is that they want someone who has experience with diverse populations and stakeholders and underrepresented students, and has experience designing and implementing diversity and inclusion initiatives, et cetera, teaching, all of that. So this is kind of busy, I'm sorry, but hopefully this breaks it down for those of you who are visual learners and like to color code and all that stuff. So this is my opening paragraph. So I'm writing to express my sincere interest in the manager of student life and diversity position within the College of Agricultural Sciences at Colorado State University. That's yellow, that's the title of the position. My agricultural roots and my passion for diverse and inclusion programming propels me in applying for this role. That's maybe a little bit of a weaker attention grabbing, but I did describe why I'm interested in it. And then the last sentence is summarizing of my qualifications. In reviewing my materials, you find that my cumulative experience working with diverse students and designing and implementing diverse inclusion initiatives gives me the skills and qualifications to be successful as a manager for blah, 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 blah. So again, you're just reinstating what they want, which is being able, I would essentially use the top 2 bullet points and summarize that. I didn't use all of it, but the things that are most important. And typically the things that are most important are at the top of the qualification section. So typically that's a rubric. The things at the top are the most important. The things on the bottom are the least important, but still important. Okay, so the middle section, cover letter formatting, there's 3 steps. Essentially, you give an example of how you demonstrate a qualification and then give me specific results and or outcomes. I said or outcomes, but results and outcomes or outcomes of that qualification, and then combine the 2. So for example, I wrote, in this particular job description, in this particular role, I designed and implemented educational series for this amount of people on topics of equity, diversity, and inclusion. So see how I'm trying to be like, I have experience in doing diverse equity programming. This is an example of that. And then I talk a little bit about the strengths that I have within that. And then keep going. And then I end it with summarizing what I just said. You could also do that at the top, but the first and last sentences are really important. I think so. I wrote my last sentence as, I'm able to design and implement diverse inclusion initiatives by incorporating assessment, research, and adapting to a variety of audiences. So those are qualifications that they're asking me, and I'm just reiterating that I do that. And then above that, I was demonstrating that I did that. Here's another example of a middle section. This person used bullet points. So I have proven as a professional communication and guest services skills through my work experiences, community involvement, academic pursuits at CSU. Some highlights of these experiences are independently presented and led family tours for up to 20 people at CSU admissions office, Slice led certified, consisted of intense training on diverse and leadership skills from multiple campus offices, et cetera, et cetera. So again, you can use bullet points, but you are here's the skill set that you're asking me for. This is how I demonstrate it. And you can also use a bullet point format. Here's another example of a bullet point format. So this was a bullet point of what they wanted. They wanted someone who has experience hiring, training, supervising, and advising and evaluating undergrad staff. And so I gave an example of, this is how I demonstrate. So here's the bullet point, and then underneath I wrote a little paragraph of my experience with that. That's another way that you could do it as well. So closing the cover letter, you're just restating your interest within the organization. The organization and organization. That's an error on my end, but include your phone number and email address, and thank you for considering them. This is pretty wordy, and I might be looking back, I maybe wouldn't do it this way, but it's still an example. My experiences above only showcase a few of the examples of the impactful work that I do. I've been a part of department and campus-wide initiatives to improve inclusive climates. I do this, this, and this. I do this because of this. I believe my interest and experiences will be an ideal candidate for your department. If you're given the chance to become part of your team, you will have someone who's committed to high quality. It's a little fluffy, but you get what I'm saying. Here's some of the skills that I have. I'm really interested. I hope you have time to thank you for considering my applications, and I look forward to speaking with you. Name, phone number, email. Okay, so I know I talk very quickly. There were moments where I was trying to slow down a little bit, but hopefully the captions are helpful and you're able to like pause throughout. But if you have any questions around resume, cover letters, job negotiation, interviewing, job searches, anything, or just like, I don't know what I'm doing, Alexis, can you help me brainstorm some of these ideas? I'm your person. I like to say that I'm your professional hype person. So if you want to schedule an appointment with me, you can through handshake or calling the front desk office at the Career Center, but you could also email me directly and I can put something on my calendar. But my contact information is alexis.a.gomez@coloradostate.edu. It was really nice interacting with you all, or me talking to a screen, and then hopefully I get to see you all later. But again, if you have questions, please reach out. And I hope you all have a nice day.